Hi, this is Mel. Today I'm going to read three more articles. Grandma's Off Her Rocker. That's the title of the article. There was a time when uncle, aunts, brothers, and sisters were available to give parents a helping hand with child rearing. But more typically today, the extended family is spread all over the continent and might not be trusted anyway. Even grandparents are sometimes unavailable because they're just as busy as their kids. Let me share a humorous poem that describes the situation. I have no idea who wrote this little piece, but I think I will enjoy it. It's called Where Have All the Grandmas Gone? In the dim and distant past, when life tempo wasn't fast, grandmas used to rock and knit and crochet and babysit. When kids were in a jam, they could always call on Gram. In that day of gracious living, Grandma was a girl for giving. But today she's in the gym exercising to keep slim. She's off touring with the bunch or taking clients out to lunch, going not to ski or curl. All her days are in a whirl. Nothing seems to stop or block her now that grandma's off her rocker. Well, now we know why grandma isn't at home waiting for a call. I think it's wonderful that older people are busy and productive, but if that means that they don't have time for grandkids, we're all the losers for it. Children needs not only mothers and fathers and who are dedicated to them, but also older adults who are invested in their life, the peoples most qualified to fulfill that responsibility are loving grandmas and grandpas who are passionately committed to their own flesh and blood. And I couldn't agree with this more. I mean, this is so sad. Our families living far away, broken up, and cannot even be with each other or see each other or even be there for each other's in time in need. And this is really, really bad. And I've been telling that for years that slowly humans are becoming so lonely that all alone. First it was a huge family with all the brothers, sister, grandma, grandpa. Then the brothers started splitting, sisters started splitting, and then they don't want the parents no more, the elderly people, and put them in nursing homes. And then slowly people become single and this and that. Now these families are so tiny, but the old saying is it takes a village to raise a kid, not one person. And that's how we see today's kids are so much disoriented, depressed, lonely, sad, because they have nothing but this stupid TV and the computer and the phone. None of these things are alive. None of these things can actually fulfill all the things they need. None of these things can teach them good things. None of these things can actually talk to them, tell them a story. None of these things are human. They're all non-human machines, and we got rid of the human and we want our kids to live with the machine. This is so horrible. I just so wish that we could go back to 100 years ago when things were normal. And I think half of our problems will just go away just like that. And when we live together in a family, big family, I know there are problems, but then still there are people you can depend on, the people you can count on in times of need. And that's the way to live. Even those days, people knew who is your neighbor, each other's name, everything. Now you don't even know who lives next door to you. You probably don't even know how many people lives there, what their names, and nor that they have any interest in you to know who are you or how many people lives in your home. Like, it's a world, day by day we're becoming so distant from each other, and that is just such a shame. I really wish I had a magic wand and I can go back in time 100 years. Yeah, I really, really do wish. So yeah, this article is amazing. I kind of got hooked onto this book because everything this author says lines up with me so well. The next article name is Terrors by Night. Have you ever been awakened in the middle of the night by a boy or girl who was obviously terrified but couldn't explain why? That child may have just experienced what is known as a night terror, which is very different from nightmare. It is important to understand the difference. If children are awakened in the midst of a nightmare, they can usually describe the story and tell you what was so scary about it. Then they can be comforted and tucked in for the rest of the night. But youngsters in the midst of night terror usually couldn't be brought to consciousness, even though they may sit up in bed with eyes open, screaming and shaking pitifully. It is as if they were in another world, won't even be remembered the next morning. It appears that night terrors occurs in what is known as stage 4 sleep, which is deeper and farther from consciousness than any other human experience. In this state, the body's mechanisms are reduced to a bare minimum to sustain life. Breathing, heart rate, metabolism, and other functions go into super slow motions. Nightmares, on the other hand, occurs in stage 3 sleep, which means they are closer to consciousness and are linked to the event in one's waking life. The good news is that there appear to be no physical or psychological problems associated with the night terror. You can in fact prevent them with mild dose of medication. However, most physicians don't recommend doing so unless they're disturbing the parent's stage 4 sleep. Night terrors and nightmares is a distinction worth remembering. Well, a lot of times I have seen people screaming at night and then cannot remember what happened. And a lot of times I have seen people screaming and then they do remember what happened, but then they forget the next morning. They remember that time. So it's best to write down what happened. And a lot of things are really, everything in this world is not described by science as we are kind of made to believe that everything have to have a scientific definition, then only they're true, and which is really not true. What we know, what our mind knows is just a fraction, 1% maybe, but there are 99% other things which we don't know. There's so much information to know. So yeah, our brain is even active only 10% that we use, and 99%, 90% is not being even used, which yogis used a lot of it and they became superhuman. So there are a lot of things that we don't know. So sometimes these night terrors or nightmares could be parallel living in another dimension, or could be from past life. There are a lot of possibilities. And could be just seeing the future, what might happen in future. So yeah, and everything cannot be justified by science. Science is not so developed that it can justify so many things. Like there are so many things in this world that science cannot justify, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. So yeah, there are a lot of different things. Next article titled The Earthquake. We discussed previously a phenomenon known as night terror, those frightening experiences that some children have while sleeping and that are very different from nightmares. My own daughter had such an experience when she was 4 years old. About midnight one night, she began screaming from her bed. When I reached her side, she was babbling excitedly about the fact that the wall was about to fall on her. She was saying, "Daddy, it's falling, the wall is falling," even though she wasn't awake. I pressed the child's hand against the wall and said, "Honey, that wall has been there a long time. It's very strong. It isn't going to fall. You are okay. Go back to sleep. Everything is all right." I don't believe Danny ever came to consciousness. I tucked her under the cover and went back to sleep myself. 6 hours later, on the morning of February 9, 1971, a powerful 6.1 earthquake rattled the city of Los Angeles and shook my wife and me out of bed. I rushed to Danny's room to get her out of the wall, which was violently jumping and shaking above her bed. Did our 4-year-old have some kind of forewarning of the earthquake in the middle of the midnight hours? I don't know. But I'll tell you this. The next time she tells me that the wall is going to fall, I intend to believe her. And that's the same thing I said for the last article, that there are so many things in this world that we don't know. And there's so many things to learn, and a lot of things about human are still a mystery. And we're so much connected to the higher self and divine. And it's just because of the lot of the toxins and poisons everywhere, air, water, food, our third eye, which is our gateway to with us and the higher divine, is blocked, so we cannot get the information. A lot of peoples are unblocked, especially little children haven't accumulated so much of toxins and poisons. So they're still unblocked, so they can connect with the higher divine and they can get information. See how the animals are so alert, and when there is snow coming or snow not coming or somewhere drought coming, animals know long time ago and they move away from that place. The birds will fly away if the huge snowstorm coming. Suppose this year snowstorm coming, the birds they're going to fly away long time before it hits. So they have the sixth sense, they have their third eye chakra open, so they can receive information, but humans are all blocked. So The little girl still had it open because did not accumulated so much toxins and poisons. So yeah, this was an interesting article, but the thing is there are a lot of things we don't know, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. So yeah, she was receiving information from the super consciousness to move away from the wall, and that's what happened. I remember uh, one time my grandma told in a story that when they were sleeping at night time and there was earthquake about to come and everybody used to sleep in India. It was too hot, everybody would sleep in their nightgowns called nighty. They change from the sari to nighty, and they will just sleep with that. And early morning, they shower and change to their sari, and they didn't want the whole world to see them in the nighty. So one night, my grandma didn't want to change to her nighty because she was having a feeling that something's going to happen and she's gonna have to run with the nighty, which she didn't want. So she got dressed up in her sari the way she stays in home and kept her hair tied up and everything. Went to bed, and sure enough, around 3 a.m., the huge earthquake came and shook everything. And everybody has to run outside, and everybody ran in their nighty. There was not much time, and grandma was prepared. She had her sari. She didn't need to worry about wearing nighty. All they had to do is grab all the children and go. But this is the way it happens. Like, some people are so connected with the higher self that they get the message, the information, the warnings. So that's how it happens. Thank you so much. So this was the third article, and I'll be reading some more soon. Bye bye.